Hail, intrepid viewers, and welcome back. Today we are playing Welcome to Moreytown. I believe this is a choose-your-own-adventure novel set to the theme of anthropomorphic animals in a noir genre. So this is mostly going to be me reading. So you've seen that before, we're getting more of that. I have this sized up, so hopefully you can kind of read it. I don't know, the visuals aren't strong. Theoretically, you're just listening to this without actually watching, so that's fine. But if you're trying to watch this as well, I've tried to size it as big as I can without clipping things off. We'll see how variable things get in length or width or whatever. I apologize in advance for any lost things that you guys aren't able to see. And without further ado, let's read this prologue. Welcome to the tail end of the 21st century. It's been a few decades since the end of the last global war, known officially as the Pan-Asian War here in the United States. This was a war that saw an arms race in genetic engineering. Dozens of countries tried to engineer the perfect soldier, but because of UN treaties banning the engineering of the human genome, they weren't engineering human soldiers. At the time, the United States reacted by banning the practice of genetically engineering sapients, and even went so far as to add a new amendment to the Constitution, giving the sapient products of that kind of engineering the protection of the Bill of Rights. I can't see that happening today, but that would be great. Given the atrocities, great, right? Given the atrocities happening in labs and battlefields overseas, the measures had barely any opposition, at least not until the refugees started coming. But it's now about 20 million Moros later. Oh, what Moro? That's a reference to something, right? Henry David Moreau? No, it's Thoreau. Moro, the island of Dr. Moreau, that's what I'm thinking of. That's what the humans call you, Moro. Maybe Morey, but if they're feeling particularly un-PC. And where there are Moros, there's Moreytown, the slums and ghettos you and yours call home. To date, the integration of Moros into human society has been rough. Often, it seems that both sides resist the idea as much as they possibly can, to the point it sometimes feels that you live on a different planet from the Pinks, which is what you Mories call humans, if you're feeling particularly un-PC. Chapter 1, The Essex Arms. You live in the Essex Arms, which you've always thought was a pretentious name for a crumbling apartment building in the middle of Moreytown. At one point, 50 years ago, this place had been luxury condos, but after the Moreaus started settling around the neighborhood, the old human residents sold to some anonymous development company that subdivided all the condos into low-income housing. The company name on your lease has changed every year you've lived here. Right now, it's something property management. Whoever they are, they debit your account on the 1st, and you get a roof over your head for another month. This apartment has been your home longer than anywhere else you've ever lived. It's an odd-shaped studio that's been sectioned off when they converted the place. It might be kind of shabby. What apartment in this neighborhood isn't? But you could afford it without any roommates, and despite the shabbiness, you're attached to this place. In particular, we have options. I'm a larger Moro, and it was the one place where the ceilings could accommodate my size. It had a shower designed for Moros. I'm a smaller Moro. I got a deal because anyone bigger wouldn't fit in this place. It was the one place where I didn't have to deal with human management. Do you want to be big, small, weirdly showery, or racist? Let's be big, default. Once this place must have been the great room for the original condo. Now it's just a studio with a kitchenette and bathroom wedged off of one corner. But it has 4-meter ceilings, and it was one of the only apartments you looked at where you didn't have to hunch over to avoid bumping your head on a light fixture. Not that any of that really matters to you at the moment. It's 5 o'clock Tuesday morning, and even though you're standing in your apartment, you're not really there. You received some bad news yesterday, and you can't avoid thinking about it. When you came home from Monday, you can get an eviction notice, a subpoena to appear in court to answer charges of what? A subpoena to appear in court to testify, a letter from the IRS. Let's be a criminal. I received a subpoena to appear in court to answer charges, allegedly, of assault. It's not like you even really hurt that rat. The scruffy little gangbanger wannabe thought that by jumping you, he could boost his rep with whoever it was he was trying to impress. It didn't work. You backhanded the idiot into a trash can and he went scampering away. You thought it was the end of it until some human cops showed up. You spent the afternoon fuming about the news until you finally decided to try and take your mind off of it. However, despite the best of intentions, it didn't go well. The subpoena still dominated your thoughts, even as you tried to hook up with Talking X. I'm gonna go with I don't really have any sexual relationships. I just try to find a friend to talk to, for now. Maybe the universe just has it in for you, but no one you knew was lurking around your usual hangouts. You went for a drink at Johnny's, a local bar around the corner, but even the bartender, a weasel with a lisp and a cloudy eye, only paid you your problems minimal attention. After a while, you even sounded pathetic to yourself and headed home. Your inability to unload your problems on anyone else left you feeling isolated last night. You feel even more so right now, awake before dawn, naked, and alone in your apartment. Why are you naked, anyway? Why not? I mean, I'm naked. If I wasn't recording, I'd be naked right now. Who wears human clothes in their own home? I guess that makes sense. Who wears any clothes in their own home? How about that? That's what I want that solution to be. I'll go with the shower one, though, because again, this has some racist undertones that I'm trying to avoid right now. Also, working out naked's a little weird. You've always found the process of washing and grooming your fur calming. When you couldn't stop thinking about the subpoena, it seemed a good option to take your mind off of things. I wonder if there are reptilian moros. But since your cheap apartment doesn't have a built-in dryer, you're left to air dry your fur, which isn't nearly as distracting. And when you catch your reflection in the window, what do you see? Oh, it's more complicated than male or female. Arbitrary decision, let's stick with default. I'm a female. I am a rodent, canine, feline, or ursine. I don't particularly want to be rodent or canine. Let's go ursine. Ursine's pretty cool. We've established I'm big. I guess I could be a big rat, but I want to be, let's go ursine. Ursine seems cool. You are one of the least common types of Moro. Bears were difficult to work with, and only were developed as heavy infantry in a few countries, and fewer still ever made it to the States. You are larger than anyone else, aside from other bears. While bears tend to be slower than average, they also tend to be the most deadly in close quarters. You're never going to lose yourself in a crowd. Are bears really slow? I thought bears were friggin' fast. I thought bears were like as fast as dogs. Certainly as fast as cats. I don't think I've ever raced a bear and a rat. Whatever. So you're just a lonely bear pacing naked in front of her apartment's sole window. The subpoena rattles around in your brain despite your best efforts to take your mind off of things. It's just too easy to dwell on it now. And it's too late to sleep and too early to go to your poor excuse for a job. Suddenly, you wish for something to take your mind off of everything. As you pace past the window, the universe, perverse as it is, decides to grant your wish. I rely on scent, and I smell something wrong. I tend to focus on hearing, and even there's an odd sound. I have pretty sharp eyesight, decent night vision. I like smell. Rely on smell and smell something wrong. The thing I like about smell, I like smell, like, as like a super sense, I like smell, because from a human's perspective, I feel like smell is kind of the most subtle of the main ones. Of like vision, hearing, and smell. I think smells most frequently, like, the biggest spectrum untapped. Like, I love it in comics when Wolverine's like, oh, I smelled your gunpowder from 3 miles away, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's crazy, but people think, like, when they're sneaking, they think to be quiet, and they dress in camo, but they, as far as I know, don't do anything to affect their smell, and so I kind of like the overlooked aspect of it. You take a deep breath and sneeze. There's a taint in the air, an acrid chemical smell that burns your sinuses. Every muscle in your body tenses as you realize that something, somewhere, is burning. It's probably a fair statement at any point in time. No, you don't want to believe that the building is on fire. You rush to the window and the scent of smoke gets worse as you approach. It seems to be coming from outside, making you want to sneeze again. If you weren't suddenly paying attention, you could have missed the first muffled boom. The vibrations feel almost too distant to be real, as if it's happening somewhere else. You want to think it's a car crash, maybe a runaway delivery van. The navigation controls on those automated vehicles seem to fail with a lot more frequency in your neighborhood, but you know that's not what it is, even before the real explosion. Chapter 2. Out of the Fire. A horrendous explosion rocks the building, felt more than heard. For a moment, it seems as if your whole apartment tilts one way, then the other, throwing you face first into the ancient shag carpeting. The smell of burning synthetics starts to make you gag. The air is getting hard to breathe. You struggle to your feet, the subpoena now completely forgotten. You stand, naked, hand over your mouth, filtering the smoke. You don't have much time to escape. Are you going to grab anything before you get out? Wallet seems like the most practical thing. So I'll go with that, sure. You grab your wallet off the small table by the head of your bed. There are only 2 ways out of the apartment, the front door to the hallway outside, and the window. Both appear equally dangerous, since you don't have any clear idea how bad the fire is in either direction. The window is the quicker exit, if you can force it open, but there's no fire escape off your apartment. If there ever had been one, some street-level entrepreneur had sold it for scrap long before you ever moved in, so that way is an unsafe climb down the side of the building. The corridor isn't as precarious, but it's more likely to have the way blocked by smoke or fire, and more than likely to have other tenants crowding the way out. I would open my door, look out, assess the situation, and then try the window. Do I have that option? Run out the door, or run out the door. Escape that way is faster. Someone needs to pull the fire alarm because it's not gone off yet. That is very noble. Let's do that one. I think we could climb it. I'm a bear. I think we can climb it. Let's pull the fire alarm. You dash out the door to your apartment. The corridor beyond is hazy with smoke, but the way to the stairs seems clear. You break into a run for safety, ducking as low as you can manage to avoid the worst of it. A few meters away from your apartment is a small red box on the wall. You reach up and pull the white lever just under the word fire. A klaxon shrieks in your ears and a strobe light flashes somewhere above you, beyond the smoke. Before you resume your escape, you hear someone groaning in response to the alarm. It sounds as if it's coming from behind the apartment door closest to the stairs. I break down the door. Let's pound first? We don't really have time. This is burning down anyway. Let's break the door down. The doorframe splinters when you throw your full weight into the door. The door swings open on a flustered-looking old cat. He has a shaggy, tawny coat shot with gray. It's too hazy and dark in the apartment to make out his exact species, but he's obviously one that doesn't age well. His joints are knobby and arthritic, and his pupils are completely dilated and silvery with cataracts. The disoriented cat wheezes, "Who is it?" at you before breaking into a coughing fit. I've wasted enough time with this senile old fart. Time to go! How about we grab him by the arm and run for the steps? I want an option, too, where I also tell the cat he needs to get out of here, and then I grab him by the arm, but wordlessly, I'm just gonna abduct this guy. The old Moreau seems more confused than frightened. You guide him easily towards the steps while he keeps muttering things like, "That man is a quack, they wouldn't let him work on humans," and "It's not Friday," and "Did they send you here for the disposal?" You tune him out as you both merge with a line of other tenants escaping the building down the stairs and out the emergency exit. You lead him out onto the street where firefighters are already ushering people a safe distance from the building. Someone sees you leaving the building with the cat and calls from the crowd. In a few moments, a trio of similar-looking felines rush up through the crowd. They take the old guy from you, obviously relieved. "Timothy," one says, "you're all right." Another clasps your hand and says, "Thank you. I don't know if he could have gotten out of there by himself." The crowd surges with more folk fleeing from the burning apartment building, and a sea of fur separates you from them before you can talk more. "I want a reward." Relieved that the old guy is safe, you merge into the crowd of gawkers across from the Essex Arms. It's a scene of complete chaos. Outside, as you are shoved deeper into a crowd of Moros massing across the street. Half seem to be tenants of the Essex Arms. You can tell because of the acrid scent of singed fur and smoke following them around. Like you, the majority of the tenants hadn't managed to dress before escaping, but, while most people wear something to appease the humans, nudity is no rarity among the fur-bearing people, especially in Moreytown. The rest of the crowd are the gawkers that seem to spontaneously appear on the street whenever something starts burning. Is this a regular occurrence? Well, it could be in Moreytown. You stare over the heads of the crowd to see what's happening with your building. Half of it is engulfed in fire. You were lucky, the fire is concentrated on the structure opposite the side where you had made your exit. The sense of smoke and 100 different materials burning wash over you, as heat from the rolling flames warms your face from across the street. Several fire trucks are here now, and dozens of human firefighters swarm the street between the crowd and the fire. They're pouring water into the building, while tiny black drones orbit above them, shining spotlights on hotspots and the victims still trapped in the building. 3 drones hover in front of a third-story window above some of the worst flames, aiming a blinding trio of spotlights at an opening that seems miraculously free of flames for the moment. A truck levers a ladder toward that window as the inferno below it receives the heaviest attack from the fire hoses. A firefighter mounts the ladder and starts climbing up even as it still swings into place. Suddenly, the lower floors belch a rolling pall of black smoke between your side of the street and the building. Despite the spotlights, for several tense moments the top of the ladder and the firefighter are invisible. Then a cheer comes from the crowd as the firefighter backs down the ladder, half leading and half carrying a small white-furred Moreau. You feel a surge of emotion. I really want to punch something right now. I'm relieved they saved that person. You didn't realize you've been holding your breath until you saw the firefighter descend with that Moreau. Then you gasped with relief, clapping and cheering with the rest of the crowd. Fortunately, it seems that they may have been the last person trapped in the building, alive. As you continue watching the fire, you notice something you didn't expect. There's a human in the crowd over there, and whoever it is, they aren't a firefighter. She's standing in the midst of a cluster of Moreaus, mostly rats and rabbits. She stands out because she's tall for a human female, just a bit under 2 meters, and her pale skin and golden hair stand out against the massive fur. She doesn't show the kind of tension that humans typically show around Moreaus. The woman is also overdressed for Moreytown, though any human would probably be overdressed by definition, in a dusky pantsuit. She was talking with members of the crowd, but as the firefighter brings the Moreau down off the ladder truck, she breaks off and heads towards the rescued Moreau. Suddenly, a large shadow crosses your field of vision. Instinctively, you jerk your head in that direction to face the largest Moreau you've ever seen. He's big, even for an ursine, a tower of black-furred muscle, easily a head taller than you. Even his scent is big, and for a time, his musky smell blocks even the toxic miasma coming from the fire. He is dressed in torn jeans that could house a family of 4, and a leather vest that has some sort of gang logo on the back. He's standing right next to you, but is paying you no attention whatsoever. His attention is taken by the fire and the tiny-looking phone in his massive paw. That isn't a bad thing. From the look of the guy, the wrong sort of attention from him could be painful. You look away from the bear, trying to catch sight of the human female again, and you're jostled by a surge in the crowd behind you. You turn to see a mass of Moreaus moving to converge in a beat-up panel truck, the kind of automated vehicle that tends to move through the city, anonymously until someone overtaxes its nav computer by doing an unexpected merge. This one is less anonymous than usual. A blurry mural covers the sides of the truck, dominated by a globe. Above the mural, the words East Side Unity Center are written in large block letters. The truck finishes backing toward the crowd, and the door at the back rolls up, revealing a lean, muscular feline with spotted yellow fur. He's wearing cut-off jeans, human make, you can tell because of the ragged hole torn in them to accommodate his tail, and a t-shirt with a design matching the pattern on the side of the truck. Jaguar or cheetah, it's hard for you to tell the difference at a distance. Panthers are black, jaguars, okay, yeah. The feline talks to the crowd and starts passing out bottled water out of the back of the truck. We can join the crowd, get some water, push the crowd to the rear of the truck, I need water. What's up, big guy? Hey, big guy. I want to... We could confront the human, or... I'm debating between the 2 eavesdropping options. I don't want to draw attention to myself yet. Do we care about seeing what the human is doing, or do you want to eavesdrop on the ursine phone conversation? I'm thinking human, just because, oh man, I don't know. The gang stuff sounds interesting too, though. Yeah, let's go gang stuff. It isn't hard to listen in, at least to the ursine's half of the conversation. His voice is as big as the rest of him. You pay close attention to the bear next to you. He seems to be ignoring you, turning slightly away. Well, that doesn't make his deep bass voice any harder to listen to. Bass voice. His deep bass voice any harder to listen to. It doesn't give you an unobstructed view of the back. It does give you an unobstructed view of the back of his leather vest. The gang colors are red and yellow and feature a graphic image of a wolf, genetically unmodified unless you counted apparent giganticism, clutching a bloody human in its jaws as it climbs a mountain of skulls, human and non-human, backlit by a blood-red sunrise, or maybe sunset. Above the image are the words running dogs in faux Cyrillic, complete with the backwards R's and N's. Cyrillic? I actually don't know that word. Well, now you know which street gang this guy belongs to. I haven't seen any saints yet, the bear says in an admirable attempt at a whisper. You can't hear the other end of the conversation, but the bear nods as if he was having a video chat. Right, I know. That gets your attention. You might not be a member of any gangs, but you know folks who are. There are a few tenants in your building you know are affiliated with the local gang named the Damned Saints. Could they have been responsible for the fire? I don't think the Saints... If the Saints lived around here, maybe the... what's the name of these? The running dogs could start the fire. I tell this guy about the gangbangs in my building. No. Why would they burn their own building? You're stupid. I keep eavesdropping. Right, that one. Yes. Yes. I keep eavesdropping. For all I know, the running dogs tried to torch some rival and it got out of hand. I need to know who's responsible before I help grind anyone into the pavement. You turn back toward the fire, trying to fade into the crowd around you. At the same time, you subtly sidestep even closer to the bear so you can try to hear both sides of the conversation. The massive Ursine distractedly says, I don't know who's in the building. Hey, wait a minute. He lowers the phone and turns to face you. Apparently, you weren't quite as subtle as you intended to be. In his paw, you hear the phone's tiny speaker echo with a distorted female voice, with a slight European accent. Tiny? What's wrong? You hear that and think, of course he's named Tiny. The massive Ursine looms over you and growls lowly. I think you should mind your own business, don't you? He glares at you a moment, and before you get a chance to respond, he turns his back on you and starts shoving his way back through the crowd. Phone back to his ear, he says, Too many ears here. I'll call back when I know something. Oh well, that could have gone worse. Yeah. The human female in the pantsuit is still talking to the rat the firefighter saved from the building. By the panel truck, the feline Moreau is still passing out water. I care about the human female, this one. I shove my way through the crowd. That's a little rougher than I want to be, but that is the option of these four that I want to do. Shove through the crowd to see what the human's doing. You approach and watch the human with a small white rat that had just been saved from the building. You notice a small drone hovering over the woman's shoulder. Like the firefighting drones, this one has a spotlight. Oh, is she a reporter? Which is trained on the rat at the moment. It seems the rat's addressing the drone rather than the human. As the rat shifts slightly on her feet, the drone keeps its spotlight, and you presume its microphone and cameras trained on her. The drone is marked with high-contrast fluorescent green and orange that would stand out even to a half-blind Moreau. On its side, you see a light flash recording. As you approach, the human wraps up her recording of the rat. She says, "Thank you," to her, and the red recording light on the drone changes to an amber standby. The human turns in your direction as you approach. As the human watches you approach, the drone follows her gaze, panning up and down. Even though the lights on this thing claim it's not recording right now, it's still a little unnerving, especially as you realize that you're not wearing a stitch of clothing. It didn't bother you in the crowd of Moreaus, but suddenly facing a human like this, it's embarrassing. And the half-smile the woman's giving you is not helping. She doesn't give you a chance to speak before introducing herself. "Hello, I'm Chris Westbrook of the Independent Multicast News Service." She flashes a dazzling smile at you. "Would you be willing to answer a few questions on camera?" Well, that answers the question of who she is and what she's doing here. I'm gonna go with option 2. Record me? Nope. Ask away, but point the drone somewhere else. Not on camera, you tell her. Her smile doesn't waver. No problem. No problem. She reaches into her left pocket and the drone pivots and flies upward, apparently turning to get a panorama of the massed crowd and the fire. Now, can you tell me about what happened? Now that you don't have a camera pointed at you, you tell Chris Westbrook the story of how you escaped from the fire. She prompts you with questions every time your story lags. She's good at this. You almost slip and mention the subpoena you were brooding on, but you catch yourself before you get into anything personal. After you give the gist of what happened, she hits you with a question you didn't expect. So, has there been a lot of gang activity around the building? You're not a gang member, but you've seen several gangbangers around before. Now, including Tiny, the giant Ursine from the Running Dogs. Thanks for reminding me. You were unsure about telling reporter Chris Westbrook of the Independent Multicast News Service about that. You stall with your own question. Why do you ask? I've been looking into the local drug trade, she says. There's a new designer drug called Spirit. You've heard of it? No, you tell her. It's true, you haven't. Thank you, game, for, giving me a hard fact and not making me wonder. Like, if I should know something, I should know if I know something, and you told me, so good. A lot of games would give me the option of yes or no, and I wouldn't know if I was lying or not. Well, it seems targeted at non-humans in particular. There have been a dozen violent episodes connected to it in the past few months. Yeah? You glance back at the fire. And this has to do with my apartment burning how? Because of violence! My sources suggest that the influx of spirit in this city is coming from one of the street gangs in Moreytown. They're manufacturing it themselves. This fire may have been an accident in one of their labs. She lets that sink in before asking, So, have you seen any gang activity? Normally, you wouldn't think talking to reporters about them would be the greatest idea, but now that you know that Chris Westbrook is looking into it, now you know what Chris Westbrook is looking into, it seems possible they had a drug lab blow up. That happens, right? How do you respond? Tell her what? Tell her... What do I tell her? I'll tell her, I guess. I don't know what I'm telling her about. I'll tell her. You tell her about the gang members you've seen around your building, a capybara, named Slug, a canine that calls herself Fang, and a rabbit named Francesca. Others that you don't have names for. You don't know exactly what they were doing, you never got that involved with them. As you talk, you realize you don't really have that much information. Yeah, you'd never watched them dealing drugs, or really doing anything more suspicious than loitering around the lobby. If it wasn't for the fact that your apartment was on fire, you might have thought that Chris was just fishing for some anti-Morrow storyline. Something of those thoughts must have leaked through because she tells you, I don't blame you for being suspicious. What? But you should know this spirit is a dangerous drug. It's designed specifically for non-human brain chemistry, and I've seen it do a lot of damage. It can suppress higher brain functions. Yeah, it makes you feral. Of course, any animal drug's gonna make you more animal, right? That's how narratives like this work. I've seen non-humans who've completely regressed under its influence, becoming little more than animals. You find that idea unnerving. While you're still pondering that, you realize that you've gathered a small audience. Just as you realize a bunch of Morrows from your building are watching, Chris says, thank you for your time. She offers you a business card and says, if you think of anything, please let me know. You take the card, and she leaves you to talk to someone else in the crowd. Apparently, your interview is over. You stare at the card she gave you, wondering what to do with it since you don't have any pockets at the moment. I was wondering that with the wallet too. You look up at your building. Daylight has begun to break, and the fire seems to have been extinguished. The firefighters are busy pouring water into the steaming wreck. You wonder if your apartment survived, but you can't see your window from where you're standing. As you start edging toward the side of the building where your apartment is, you notice flyers scattered across the ground. You pick one up and look at it. One side of the flyer has the globe logo and the words East Side Unity Center displayed prominently. You see the address, a small map, and a list of services including a food bank, emergency shelter, a rec center, and a bunch of other stuff. That building must really be crowded, you think. You flip over the sheet and see a poster advertising a rally for peace this coming Friday. Apparently there will be speakers, music, and food, all open to everyone regardless of species. If that wasn't clear enough, the bottom of the poster has a stock photo showing an unnaturally happy group of mixed humans and non-humans engaged in some ambiguous game on a green lawn under a cloudless blue sky. You doubt if that particular image ever existed outside a computer. You drop the flyer as a sudden commotion interrupts you. Chapter 3. Into the Frying Pan.